Okay, so this is the second video. If you haven't watched the first video that's linked right before this one, go back and do that because this may not make much sense until you've seen that one. So just a few more example problems to help you as you're working through these. So this is problem 2. Number 1 is on the last video. How much energy is released when 75 grams of room temperature water, which we're saying is 25 degrees Celsius, freezes into ice cubes with a final temperature of negative 3.5 degrees Celsius. So the first thing I'm always going to do is sketch a heating or cooling curve. And this says energy is released, and I see that I'm freezing. So this is actually going to be a cooling curve. So I start at the top and I go down. It still has a slope, a flat, a slope, a flat, and a slope. Just go in the other direction. And again, time or energy is on the x-axis, and temperature in degrees Celsius is on the y. So I know that the high level plateau is at 100 degrees, the lower plateau is at 0 degrees, and it tells me that I start here at 25 degrees Celsius. So that's between 100 and 0. So that's on this slope here. Let's say that's right there, 25 degrees Celsius, and this is where I start. I end up at negative 3.5 degrees Celsius. So if this is 0, 3.5 is just, negative 3.5 is just right below that. And so this problem is quite a bit more complicated than the first one that we looked at. So I've got my starting and my ending points marked. And now I need to set up a calculation for every section of the curve between that starting and that ending point. So I'm going to color code a little bit here. And like I said before, I hope you can see these colors on the video. They're not showing up really well on my screen, but maybe it'll be better. So I've got one section of the curve here. I have a second section here. And then I've got a little bitty third section here. So I've got 3 calculations that I have to do, and then I just add them together. I just combine the 3 to get my final answer. So if you think about what's happening here, and sometimes that's helpful to actually sort of put this into perspective, something that you're familiar with. I take the water, I put it in the freezer, and it has to get down to its freezing point before it can freeze. So that's the first calculation that I'm doing. Then it has to keep getting rid of energy in order to actually change state to freeze. So that's the second part. So changing temperature, then freezing. And then once it completely freezes, it continues to get a little bit colder to reach whatever temperature the freezer actually is set at. So let's do those 3 steps. So the first thing that happens, like we just said, the water has to change temperature from 25 degrees down to 0 degrees Celsius. I'm going to look for my constant. That middle slope, the constant's 4.18 joules for every gram and every degree Celsius. I usually like to start with that. I like to put my constant there in the front. And this denominator tells me exactly what I need to find to multiply by. I'm going to multiply this by the number of grams I have, which is 75, and by the amount that the temperature changed. So for this part of the graph only, I'm not going all the way to the end, I'm just going to right here. I went from 25 degrees Celsius to 0. So that's a 25 degree temperature change. Now don't worry about the fact that the temperature is going down. We're just right now going to think about that as energy released. You don't have to put a negative sign or anything with that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that calculation. Get my calculator here. Sorry, I should have had that set up and ready to go. All right, so 4.18 joules for every gram and degree times 75 joules times 25 degrees that it's changed. I get 7,837.5. I'm looking at sig figs here. I've got 2 sig figs in both of these numbers, 3 in that one. So I'm going to round this to 7,800 joules. And so that's just for that first step. Now the second part of this, the water is now at 0 degrees, so it's ready to freeze, and this is our state change. So I'm right here, the low temperature plateau. It takes 334 joules for every gram that freezes. And again, there is no temperature change, so I just don't have that part of this problem in this calculation. 334 joules for every gram, and I've got 75 grams. So 334 times 75, I get 25,050. Again, I'm looking at sig figs after every step here. So this just has 2 sig figs, so I'm going to round that to 25,000 joules. And again, notice how those units cancel out. In this one, I'm canceling out grams with grams, degrees Celsius with degrees Celsius. And that's one thing about chemistry. If you can figure out how to work with those units and cancel out units, you can figure out problems whether you know what's going on with the chemistry or not. All right, so that's the first 2 steps. Third step. I'm at 0 here, and I'm going to drop down a little more to negative 3.5 degrees. So I'm coming back to my curve here. When it's a solid changing temperature, the constant that I'm using is 2.1 joules for every gram in degrees Celsius. Again, this time I've got mass and a temperature change. So I'm going to multiply that by my 75 grams. That's not changing. And again, in this section, I'm just going from 0 down to negative 3.5. So that is a 3.5 degree change. I'm not starting with the 25 again there. So calculate that. 2.1 times 75 times 3.5. 551.25, 2 sig figs for everything in that problem, so I'm going to round that to 550 joules. Don't forget your placeholder 0. So that tells me how much energy it takes for each of those 3 steps. So the last thing that I'm going to do here is just add up those numbers. So 7,800 plus 25,000 plus 550. Gives me 33,350 joules. Sig figs, this time I'm adding, so the rules change a little bit. I've got a number in the hundreds place, thousands place, and tens place. So I keep the least precise decimal place. I look at that, that's what I round to. So I'm just going to call this 33,000 joules. And that's my final answer. All right, another problem or two while I've got time. This one's a little simpler. So here's the next problem. Sweating cools your body because the sweat absorbs heat energy in order to evaporate from your skin. It takes energy from your body with it when it evaporates. So how much energy is absorbed when 600 milliliters of sweat evaporates from your skin? And I looked this up online. 600 milliliters is about what an average person sweats in a day if they're not doing a lot of physical, exercise or working outside or whatever. So it says assume no change in temperature. So this is a little tricky if you're talking about drawing your heating and cooling curve. We're absorbing energy, so it's still going this way. And really what I'm doing is this part of the graph, but I'm not necessarily at 100 degrees Celsius because, as you know, water can evaporate even if you're not at the boiling point. So the heating curve is not precisely accurate here, but that'll give you the idea of what you're doing. So I'm just on that evaporating part of the curve, And so it's just one calculation. And that one calculation for evaporation is 2,000, or so the one constant for evaporation is 2,260 joules for every gram. So 2,260 joules for every gram. And the reason I wanted to show you this problem is because I've got milliliters here and I need a mass. And this is just for water. But water has a density of 1 gram for every milliliter. So if they're giving you a volume of water in milliliters, that's also the mass of the water. So 600 milliliters of water has a mass of 600 grams. So that's what I'm going to plug into my equation here, 600 grams. And that's it for this one. Grams will cancel out, and then it's just a matter of doing a quick calculation. 2260 times 600, 1,356,000 joules. I'm looking at my significant figures. I have 3 and 3, so I'm going to round that to 3 significant figures. The 1, the 3, that 5 is going to round up to a 6. So 1,360,000 joules. Everything else, of course, after that place where I rounded became a placeholder 0. Another way that you see these represented sometimes is in kilojoules. So it's just like the metric conversions. It might ask you to actually give the answer in kilojoules. So if it does, just remember that kilo is 1,000. So that means there are 1,000 joules in 1 kilojoule. So mathematically, I can just move the decimal essentially 3 places to the left. So that's 1,360 kilojoules. So I just wanted to point a couple of little things there. That answer is fine the way this problem's written, but if it would ask you for kilojoules, that's your conversion there. And I also wanted to point out again, for water, milliliters and grams are interchangeable because the density is 1 gram per milliliter. Only works for water though. Don't try that with other substances. That's it for this video. If you feel like you understand this and you want to try the practice problems, then by all means, get started on those. If you feel like you still need to see a few more examples, then I will post one more video that's got a couple other problems worked out for you. So I will see you next time.